We just start like, immediately.
Fuck
like,
it,
right
we'll
now,
do it live.
right
Let's do
now. We just started. It happened.
There it is.
Yeah. We don't have any like fancy intro yet. Davey's pushing me, but I've been really resistant. So
Why?
I don't know. We'll get time. I haven't had time to put a video together yet.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm sure you guys can understand. Like, are you guys like constantly going nonstop, or is that just me?
I am for a lot of other things, not as much for the channel. But you know, I'm writing 2.5 scripts right now, and it's also, you know, Lee, the having kids is definitely an additional time sink, but yeah, no, I just don't put the time into the channel like I should, like you guys do. So that's my problem.
It gets hard sometimes. I worked. I got home from work today, and I started editing immediately on my Friday part 3, which I've been pecking away at that for like 3. That's a 27-minute review for Friday part 3. How I pulled out 27 minutes out of my ass for Friday part 3, I don't know, but it happened. So
I've seen longer videos for shorter things.
That's true. That's the nature of YouTube. Like, you could be Jason from Sinister Cinema Reviews. He could pull an hour out of that movie.
Well, I always like to say I did the behind the scenes feature for Vince's Disappear music video. You know, that Jason music video. That's a 3-minute music video, and we put together an over an hour long behind the scenes for it. So.
Well, yeah, but like behind the scenes on music videos, I could understand that because it's you know, it's the nuts and bolts of it all.
True.
I saw that video too a while back. It was pretty cool. Davey, how are you doing, brother?
Doing great. Yeah, I had a fun weekend on the channel and hanging out with the family. You know, on Easter yesterday. So. I got to hang out with Cecil last week. We checked out Sinners, and that was a hell of a time. But yeah, man, anytime when you're ready to do the intro for the show, Lee, just let me know and I can do the voiceover for it. I can, you know,
that's what I've been waiting for.
Hit the Bricks live.
Hit the Bricks live. I always go back to Stand By Me. From the racks on the stacks, it's the best on wax.
There you go.
I love Stand By Me. One day we'll have to do like a non-horror Hit the Bricks, because I'm sure, like, I think Adam Marcus famously said in one of the, I think it was his name was Jason documentary, horror fans love all movies. They just love horror, I guess, more passionately. I truly believe that too. Like, I don't think I've ever met a horror fan that couldn't reach out of horror and start talking about like Scorsese or freaking Tarantino. And I'm sure you guys are like, what is your favorite movie outside of horror, Cecil? Or do you have one?
I do. I oscillate between a few. You know, I usually start at Jaws, but some people do consider that horror. I consider that horror. So if I'm going to go non-horror, then I usually go Abyss, the full version of the Abyss, the director's cut. As a matter of fact, my top 3, it shows what a Cameron head I am. Like, my top 3 tend to be the Abyss, the extended version, Terminator 2, the extended version, and Aliens, the extended version. I really love all those movies so much.
I'm trying to think. Aliens extended version, I don't like. I mean, I like the movie, of course, but I much prefer the theatrical version. Wait, I'm trying to think. Or no, I'm thinking of Terminator. What's the one where? Because Kyle Reese is actually in the extended version of Terminator 2, right?
Yeah.
I much prefer the theatrical version, but because to me those just feel like extra scenes that don't really like move the plot forward that much.
I've never had an issue with that. I've always been like, if it's a movie I love, I'm like, oh, give me all of it. I don't care. Like, I can skip a scene if I need to on my remote. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a guy somewhere that bought like the reels for the original Halloween that will not like part ways with them. So there's like, I don't know, like hours and hours of deleted outtakes from Halloween that are ripe for the taking, but this one guy's just holding on to it and he won't let it. And that's been going on for like 20, 30 years now.
Damn.
His name is Quentin Tarantino.
Favorite movie.
If I were to say like, favorite movie that's not horror, I really love that movie Network. That Patty Chayefsky wrote. That's one of my favorites. And, you know, like Empire Strikes Back. I love Empire. And then if I'm thinking comedy, I'm like Fletch, the original Fletch with Chevy Chase. Those are 3 of my favorites.
Yeah, it's classic. Ma'am, I just ran over a water buffalo. Could I borrow your towel?
Yeah, he's so effortlessly charming in that movie. Like everything he says just works. Like when Chevy's on, it's really tough to beat him. It's just that every now and then he'd have the biggest nut
Spies
of
Like
all
Us
time.
is probably the most quotable freaking comedy. And I'm just dating myself, I guess, because I'm older. But man, I used to watch Spies Like Us just constantly.
Dude, I'm with you, but I'm like a weird Chevy head. I'm a Funny Farm Chevy head. Like that's
that's really good too.
That's the one I really like.
You can't go wrong with like early Chevy. Let me say hello to the chat. What's up, everybody? Jamie Hart, David Thorson, Fachi, Blu-ray Addict, Ryan Olachow, Trina, Dean Renner. Nice to see you all in here. Brandon Meacham. Now, you guys will notice Nick is not here tonight. He had work duties, and so unfortunately he wasn't able to join us. But then I reached out to Cecil, and Cecil was like, "Yeah, I'll happily jump on." So. And I was just talking to Davey actually before Cecil came on. We were talking behind your back, and I was telling him, I was like,
it happens.
Cecil's just such a wealth of knowledge for horror, and I like it's like a safety net. I always feel comfortable if I have Cecil on because he's not gonna stumble, right? He's just I might stumble.
I very much appreciate that, Lee. Thank you very much, and thank you, for having me on. I do appreciate that too, and it comes with being aged.
It really does.
I have a depth of horror and a depth of Superman knowledge.
Yeah, you surprised me with your love of Superman. Yours was one of the first trailer reactions I watched for Superman, and I was like, wow, he really is a Superman fan. You teared up and everything, and I was like, those are the best trailer reactions because there's no bullshit. Yeah. You're not doing the face that most of those thumbnails have when you're doing a trailer reaction. Like everybody's like. You were literally tearing up like crazy, and I was like, "That's me." I grew up a massive Superman fan because of my age and seeing Superman 2 in the theater for the first time. So you're kind of breaking the ice here for us, though, because I was actually thinking like down the line we were gonna have maybe maybe a fourth, just rotate some people out, maybe throw a celebrity in there from time to time with Hit the Bricks.
I know a couple if you're interested.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know.
I've been playing Split Fiction with Miko on the channel.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing about us in the horror circles. The horror celebrities, they're just so, for lack of a better word, accessible. They're fans just like we are for the most part. So that's the one thing that surprised me when I first got into this was like, oh wow, I'm friends with Deborah Voorhees now. This is freaking really. And Deborah, I don't know if I could say this. Deborah Voorhees and my wife are like thick as thieves. Like they literally text each other almost like every day. They got projects working together. That's something I don't tell anybody.
Cool.
But and sometimes I'll pinch myself. I'm like, hold on, I got Deborah Voorhees. Is like a friend of the family now,
dude. I totally get what you're saying too. Because when we first started doing the DNN stuff, like when we filmed the Indiegogo teaser way back in 2019. We flew Miko out and he brought his Switch. And so he was in the downtime, he was playing a lot of like Link's Awakening and he brought his Mario Kart and I challenged him to Mario Kart and he ended up beating my ass like really badly. And I fancied myself really good. But yeah, he beat my ass pretty hard. But I told my producer, Dave, I was like, do me a favor, just take a picture of us from behind because it's blowing my mind that I'm sitting here playing video games with Miko Hughes, who I watched, as a kid in all those movies growing up. Spawn, obviously Kindergarten Cop. I personally loved him the most in Mercury Rising. That was one of the first ones I quoted to him when I first met him and asked him the question about DNN. But yeah, so like now that I'm doing these Let's Plays with Split Fiction, it's like I'm just casually playing a video game regularly with Miko Hughes, and it's a complete trip, dude.
Yeah, definitely. Tonight, of course, we always talk horror news, and we will answer your questions along the way if you guys have them for us. But we'll start. I actually have. Let me pull up Sinners. First off, Davey, you two reviewed Sinners together. I watched your review, and I was just pretty much doing this the whole time. I think I think that is the one movie because nobody can agree on any freaking movie these days, right? But that's the one movie for I'd say 90% of my comments everywhere was like, "Wow, this freaking movie's amazing." Davey, what was it about Sinners that really turned you on? And like, how soon into the movie were you like, "Okay, this is different. I'm totally in"?
I mean, pretty quick into it. I just love the way the movie looks, like the way it's shot. I'm a big nerd for like camera movement and placement and performances and characters that feel like we're getting to know them, and the story is like unfurling just perfect at like a perfect pace to where you're, getting to know the chemistry of the characters and the vibe that the movie's setting up. And I would say within the first 10, 15 minutes, I mean, the movie just kind of hits the ground running. So
Yeah.
I was bought into it pretty much right away. I love that. I love the setup of it all. So by the time you get to the meat of everything and stuff starts getting crazy, you're so bought into the world and you're ready to take those next steps.
It's definitely got the first movie that I thought of when I was watching it was like From Dusk Till Dawn, because it just From Dusk Till Dawn is like two movies like sandwiched together, and it's so much so that you almost like forget that it's a vampire movie, and you actually would be like, I don't need a vampire movie actually, because I'm just loving these freaking characters and the dialogue. And that's sort of what this felt like. Cecil, do you like, are you a big Ryan Coogler fan? Because I am. Like, this is the first horror movie that he's done, but I have been on board with Coogler pretty much since Creed. I still haven't seen Fruitvale Station, but Creed I was like, wow, this is a really great filmmaker. And pretty much everything he's done since Creed, I've quite enjoyed.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I actually haven't gotten around to Fruitvale Station either, but now having seen Sinners, because both Creed and Black Panther, right, those are both in universes that are already kind of established. So there's only so much of himself he can show in these movies. Now that I've seen what Coogler is, right, like, this is, to me, I mean, I'm not putting words in the man's mouth, but to me this is kind of like a portion of his soul laid bare for everyone to see, right? If this came from him, and it clearly did, like, it's really amazing to see what he can do when it's a personal story. So I don't know the history behind Fruitvale Station, whether it's an adaptation of something or not, if it's an original thing as well. Like, I'm very, very interested to see it. And it is, one of his is it his earliest pairing with Michael B. Jordan as well? Well, we lost him.
Lee, where'd you go?
Yeah,
lost the internet. Yeah, keep on going, Cecil.
But the movie was Sinners specifically was so good, and what I was harping on in the review especially was the richness of culture along with the richness of characters. And I feel like he did such a great job of putting those on display and then putting those very things at risk in the third act in such a brilliant kind of way. It's that one shot that everyone is talking about. Like, I don't want to say what it is just in case of spoilers. Like, I don't know how much spoilery stuff you guys get into typically, but yeah, it's so phenomenal, both character wise and culturally, that I don't know if I actually said it to you in the theater, Davey, but when I was watching in my head, at least at 30 minutes, I was like, this movie's pretty perfect. And I really hope it stays this way, because if it sticks the landing, it's going to be like my first movie I felt this way about in years. So luckily it stuck the landing.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm back. I don't know what happened. I lost, because I use a LAN cable. Do you guys use a LAN cable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all wireless.
But I do have that Spectrum, I think it is, and it'll like drop like every now and then, which is a pain in the ass. But man, freaking Sinners was I was gonna read this story. Let me see if I can pull up this story real quick, see if there's anything, because the box office 45 million. Like, is that, because for me, I said in my review, with the way the box office is going these days, and I'm out of touch with Minecraft. I like, that shocked me how much money Minecraft made.
Yeah.
But and then you'll have other movies that you think will do well, but they end up not doing that well, just because they're kind of niche, I guess. So I wouldn't have been surprised if Sinners made like 10 million, just because everything it's just so unpredictable these days. Is 45 million? I think that's still really good, but I think they made the movie for like 90 million. So, Cecil, do you think it's going to make his money back with the word of mouth?
I think it's going to hold on a lot longer. Like, they didn't think it was going to beat Minecraft in its first weekend, but it has, right? So I think definitely word of mouth is going to keep people coming back. I think it's the first like really awesome representation of Black culture that we've gotten in a while. And so I think that's going to bring audiences back and back and back, and for very good reason. Like, it's an amazing story that's on display. So I do think it's going. I mean, again, people have to keep in mind it's a horror movie at its core. Like, a lot of people say no, it's not a horror movie, but it's vampires attacking in the whole third act.
That's
so
definitely horror.
Yeah, it's pretty horror, And so 45 million for a horror movie out the gate is fucking good,
Yeah.
Yes, they sunk more money into it, but they clearly put it all on screen, and it's going to have life even after the box office. So I think it will. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's an original property. I think that's an important, distinction to make, that it's not based on something that we already know. Mm-hmm. So that's something that needs to be applauded as well, because everyone complains about how it's all sequels and reboots and all that kind of stuff. So it's refreshing to see something that's just brand new, that's just so damn solid.
Mm-hmm.
It's refreshing to have, Black filmmakers and Black talent, Black stories that are coming out. Like, we just had Woman in the Yard, which was divisive, but I mean, that movie is like still in my head. But it was just, really controversial.
Mm-hmm.
But like Us, freaking Jordan Peele's got this new movie coming out called Him, which looks really good. So
yeah, he's producing that one. And I do want to shout out another one I saw. It's more comedy, but it's still a really phenomenal movie, was The Blackening. It was hilarious, and that was
I missed that one. I need to check it out.
It's really funny, Lee. I think it's very worth your time. If any of the audience hasn't seen The Blackening yet, if you want to see a really funny movie, The Blackening is very much worth your time.
Yeah, I love when horror and comedy mix like so perfectly, because if it doesn't land, it can make the movie really, really horrible, because it's kind of all for naught, because you don't have really good scares and you don't really have good comedy. That's kind of how I felt about Hell of a Summer. For me, the comedy just didn't land, and the horror just wasn't there. And so yeah,
exactly the problem Fuego and I had. Yep.
Yeah. 5 reasons why Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan's Sinners ruled the box office. Director Ryan Coogler and star Michael B. Jordan's R-rated horror thriller Sinners was #1 at the box office over the weekend, earning $48 million domestically and $63 million globally. Those ticket sales, the biggest debut in post-pandemic times for an original film, which that's cool, are a testament to Coogler and Jordan's box office bankability. They also proved to Hollywood that audiences will show up for more than just superhero sequels and time-tested action franchises. But Sinners will need to continue a strong run in multiplexes to turn a profit. That's because the studio spent $90 million to produce the film and roughly $50 million to $60 million on global marketing expenses. I mean, I could see that. I could see that budget in the film. It's a meaty film, for lack of a better word. I don't think I need to read any more of that though. But yeah, Sinners, fantastic, man. And I think I think horror is the one subgenre that just continues to truck on, no matter what's going on. Horror, there's always a hit in the horror genre that gets people talking, and oftentimes it's something original, which is not something you can say about every genre.
Yeah, there's a reason that horror is the most profitable genre year after year after year.
Yeah.
And this movie, it's one you got to check out in the theater. I mean, we didn't even talk about the music, but it's damn near a rock opera. It's a lot of fun, and something that's like, experiencing it on the big screen is pretty special.
Dude, yeah, that I think the movie, it said it was shot entirely in IMAX, but when I watched it, I noticed there was only a few scenes that like opened up when you were watching it, but that was a nice surprise. It made me think of like The Dark Knight. There's a few movies that come out every so often, and they'll have that IMAX open screen ratio, which is really cool.
Coogler has a breakdown of it, actually, that's gone pretty viral, where he talks about exactly how they shot it. They shot it with both styles of cameras.
Yeah.
And that's why, seeing it in IMAX, you're getting the full picture. It shows all three different things: the standard Panavision, the next one up, which is one type of IMAX, and then the next one up, which is the other type of IMAX. So like there's one that is the Magic that has the full picture. And then there's two others. I think I saw the smallest one. Honestly, I'm very tempted to go back and catch the IMAX version, because as good as it was, what did I miss seeing? You know, the cropped version.
Yeah, like I said, it's a full like 2:3:5 ratio type deal. I saw it in an IMAX screen. I don't know if it's Limax because there are like they call it Limax, but when it opened up, it was really, really immersive. And you know, like if you're starting to check out of the movie, which I didn't for this one, you know, it's just stuff like that that just draws you in. You know, it's like a spectacle, which is really cool to a really already great movie.
100%.
Yep. Let's go to the next story. I got Weapons. Guys, did you watch the new trailer for Weapons today?
I did not
check it out.
Okay, so yeah, I don't even know what it's about. I tend to wait and do reactions on my channel, and I didn't get a chance to do that one yet. So I'm interested to hear what it's about.
Well, I saw the trailer today. It's really simple. And right after I watched it, I thought, oh, this is like the new Long Legs marketing wise. Remember in Long Legs how they just gave you like just a little bit with that like creepy image of the little girl on the floor, you know. And
until they spoiled it in the later trailer.
Yeah, it just left you wondering, like, what is this all about? And then we finally get the full trailer. But I think maybe they were inspired by that. And they thought, hey, let's try that approach with this movie. And all it is just, you know, a bunch of children running down the street with their arms up like this. And it's just a really creepy vibe. It's dark. It's at night. We can see if this actually has the trailer on here. Some of these pages, they'll embed the trailer in there. Yeah, like there's an image from the trailer. And really that image pretty much tells you everything you need to know. The entire trailer, 40 seconds, is just random children. You know, could this be a secret season of the witch? A sequel?
Well, it makes me lean towards, right, if it's a bunch of kids, is it some kind of weird horror Pied Piper thing? Like that'd be kind of interesting.
I don't know.
There's I just checked it out before we went live, and the camera is like moving through the upstairs of a house and starts going down the stairs, and you just have this narration of sounds like a detective or a police officer that's basically giving their condolences to a father whose child is missing. So it's a very simple kind of thing, and then you see the images of these kids running through the street, but it's kind of almost like these black and white kind of looking shots with the contrast. So it's like it's a total guessing game as to what this is really about.
I mean, Cecil, here's the trailer right here.
Mr. Graff, I can understand your passion, and I don't mind having these conversations with you because, God forbid, if it was my child, I'd be demanding answers too. Those kids walked out of those homes. No one pulled them out. No one forced them. What do you see that I don't?
Damn.
Wow. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I told you, man. That's all you get, and they definitely leave you wanting more. Like this bumped up a few notches to maybe my most anticipated movie for the rest of the year.
You just like the mystery, huh?
Yeah. I can read a little bit of this to see if maybe they shed some light on it. The teaser trailer for Weapons shows a number of children fleeing their homes in writer-director Zack Cregger's horror feature, which he's definitely an up-and-comer. I love Barbarian. Warner Brothers releases the film in theaters August 8th. The cast includes Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, Austin Abrams, and more people. The multi-story narrative for Weapons centers on a small town where children have been disappearing late at night. I'm always into like child abduction movies anyway, you know, even if it steps outside of like Prisoners. Oh my God, what an amazing movie Prisoners is.
You got to be careful. There's some clippers out there that can take certain sound bites.
Yeah, I know. I was literally thinking it as I was saying it, and I was like, damn it, I can't take that back.
There is something very like, it's got like kind of a folklore kind of vibe, you know. I guess I like that whole eerie thing. Like you were saying with Long Legs, just sort of like the mystery is intriguing. So hopefully they don't blow it with a later trailer, but that's why I stay away from the non-teaser trailers.
Yeah,
if I'm interested, I just back the hell away and don't watch anything else.
Yeah, I'm like tempted to not watch a full trailer for that, you know, just because that's exactly what I need to know. I like movies with gladiators. So There's another soundbite for you, Cecil. Oh, Jesus. So what do you think it means? Are you already like speculating on what that can mean just from watching that trailer?
Yeah, I mean, again, very Pied Piper vibes to me. Like, you know, we haven't really seen. I have a Pied Piper story myself but it's
nice,
completely different. I don't think anyone's going to steal the idea, and if so, copyright Cecil. My Pied Piper idea is basically post-apocalyptic zombie story. It's the only zombie story I have, but I want a metal band that goes around and offers their services to small towns where they set up on the outskirts of town and start playing metal music to draw all the zombies out of the town, and then they take
that is awesome,
and just make it like a band story where the band breaks up and then they have to get back together by the end, and so something like that. But as a different kind, like a more typical Pied Piper story, I think that it's a really cool, like, without saying it's a Pied Piper story, this is a very Pied Piper setup. Am I wrong? Like, you know, it's just something in the dark at night, like, does something and it pulls the kids away in a very happy fashion. They're going on purpose. So yeah, I think that's a really brilliant idea to mine in a horror way.
Yeah. I just wonder, like, so what's going to be the payoff? Like, where are those kids going to end up? Are they going to be dead? I'm sure there's going to be deaths. This is a horror movie. It's Zack Kreger who did Barbarian. That movie gets freaking apeshit crazy. So yeah, I got a feeling this is going to get nuts.
And it's called Weapons, which is like, it seems like such an odd title for what we've seen so far. So hopefully they can handle that mystery part of it well. I'm picking up Twilight Zone kind of vibes, and I love the hell out of the Twilight Zone. So anything that's got that just eerie feeling about it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about when you get excited for movies is like, are they gonna stick the landings? The third act's gonna have a payoff that makes it worth it. That's the toughest thing, you know. Yeah, especially with something like this.
Zack Kreger, though, I think he's gonna kill it.
Yeah, I believe it'll be good. I liked a lot of Barbarian. I just thought it got too silly with a particular choice at the very end, and I was like, okay. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to want to see what he does in the future for sure. So
I thought Justin Long was hilarious. And I know comedy's subjective, but man, he had me freaking rolling throughout Barbarian. And it had I don't know, it's unique because like whatever's down there in that basement, it freaks you out. You're like, oh my shit, this could be like the worst thing ever. But then you got Justin Long showing up and just feeling like he's almost in a different movie. But for some reason his comedy was landing and the scares were still there. So, but yeah, that was kind of a divisive movie for sure. Barbarian. Like I knew some people said they didn't really like it, but I like movies that do that. I tend to like divisive movies.
Well, it was just a couple of it was the dive off the side with the titties flopping. Like you can't. I'm sorry. When you have two jugs in my face when you're attacking me, it's not scary. And it's not sexy, but it's not scary. That was my problem. I was so focused on how unscary a naked woman running at me is. Like, I guess that's what I found out.
Now, have you seen Kingpin?
Yeah, same thing.
There's a fight.
Yeah,
and he's pretty much punching her breast.
Yeah, I mean, Lin Shaye, quality, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't Lin Shaye. It was actually the.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it was that. But what's her name? Is it Vanessa Angel? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen it. But man, that's
yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So, all right. I gotta talk about. I'm skipping a story just so we can talk about this because I gotta know what Cecil thinks of this. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You know what?
Oh,
you know what? He already sees Silent Night, Deadly Night. Yeah, I gotta pick Cecil's brain. You know, I don't even need to read this right away. I mean,
it's not the guy; it's the material I had the problem with. You know.
You know what? Before we get too crazy, let's read, because there's a lot of different factors we can explore with this. You know, with who's in the movie. Silent Night, Deadly Night. First look at Rohan Campbell as our killer Santa plus release date. Okay. From Cineverse, Bloody Disgusting and director Mike P. Nelson, the brand new Silent Night, Deadly Night reboot has kicked off production in Winnipeg, Manitoba this week. Earlier this week, Bloody Disgusting announced the casting of Ruby Modine as Pamela and Rohan Campbell as protagonist Billy Chapman. We can also announce this morning that the film also stars Mark Akeson, David Lawrence Brown, and David Tomlinson. The biggest news: Deadly Night will be released in theaters this coming holiday season, with the release date for the holiday slasher set for December 12th. Okay, let's unpack. All right, let's unpack. Let's get Chappie's super chat first, okay? And then we'll unpack. I hope this isn't a controversial question. You might think feminist in strong female characters is a bad thing or a good thing for movies, especially in horror. I mean, my thing. I mean, horror's always had strong female characters. I was just, editing my Friday the 13th Part 3 revisited, and Dana Kimball, I think, is a great, strong character who's forced into a situation where she has to rise above. So
say nothing of Ripley or Sarah Connor.
I'm starting low and I'm working my way up. Okay.
Sorry. I stepped on your dick a little. I apologize.
The thing too, Cecil, is that like everybody uses Ripley and Sarah Connor. It's expected at this point. You don't even have to like bring it up.
I mean, that's because they invalidate this argument like right off the bat. In my opinion, Tony Movie Chappie, no hate towards you at all. Because a lot of people, have that question, but yeah, it's strong female. Like the words "final girl" come from strong female characters. They didn't like say outwardly feminism, but there's an underlying quality to all of the final girls, that are along those lines, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's about what's up here, the brains. You didn't see. I'm sticking with Dana Kimmel. Early in the movie, you didn't see her say, "Hey guys, let's sit down and have an arm wrestling match." And then she like beats all the guys in arm wrestling. They don't hit you over the head with it. They just get you to like her and even find her kind of very feminine and innocent. Yeah, but they're able to make it believable, and you actually buy because of her acting. She's like really, really giving it her all and freaking out because Jason's coming at her. And I think this is something in horror that a lot of us, I don't want to use the word forgive because there's nothing to be upset about. We're just along for the ride and we enjoy it. And there's no, that ugly term girl bossing, so I don't know. I don't get all upset about it. Yes, I think that does exist. I do think sometimes they don't earn the, the character as far as that goes. But, I think some people, some channels, they tend to harp on that stuff a little bit more than maybe they should, But yeah, go ahead, Cecil.
I was just gonna say, if they want to watch a movie with a weak female protagonist, then they can just watch, the Laurie Strode movies. Then it works out fine.
You know what? As much as I'm a big fan of Halloween, I've never put Laurie Strode at the top of my final girl list. Probably not even like. And I did a countdown, and out of respect, I probably put her in the top 5. But if I'm really putting it on paper, and I don't think Laurie Strode does anything special.
She's a victim the whole time.
Yeah, she was a victim the whole time. She didn't really, like comparing her to some of the Friday the 13th final girls like Jenny. I don't think
or Nancy Thompson, or Sydney Prescott. You know what I mean? Like there's so many that have so much more.
Oh yeah, Sydney. That's a great example. Don't get me wrong. I do think there are great qualities about Laurie Strode, but I don't think she checks all the boxes of a phenomenal final girl.
I know Blazon's got me. I just like to fire shots.
Yeah.
Especially at Halloween.
And there's something about, it's just like such a big part of horror, to have these, I think it's just like the archetypal way the stories are set up, we're supposed to like, I think you want to see these characters be protected and be safe. So you want to root for that final girl in horror. I think usually outside of horror is where people struggle to have it, come across a bit more seamless, and not like they're hitting you in the head with messaging, like something like, Captain Marvel, there's like no subtlety at all. Like it's absolutely dreadful. But for the most part, I would say horror does a really good job of being really well measured in that, to where it's just kind of part of the genre. And then the cool thing is the exception, when you do have a final guy like in Freddy's Revenge or like Jason Lives or something like that, then it's kind of cool just to see that that's the exception. You know, when you've got that strong guy that's at the forefront, even though those movies have awesome female characters in them as well.
I think the problem with the word woke is that oftentimes, like, it exists, but I think because of the culture that we live in, and I think even YouTube is at like a new era, like say over the last like few years. And I think there are some viewers, you know, they become such big fans of, you know, certain channels. Like, you know, you guys will have fans of your channels, but if you're a fan of a certain type of channel that only leans on, it's either woke or it's not woke. There's no like gray area. And so I'll do a review on a horror movie that has a strong female character, and I'll literally have comments in there. Is this shit woke? You know, like, really, that's what you want to bring to my, and I'll usually reply like, no, this is horror. We don't do that shit over here. Okay. We actually break it down, and you know, it's not as simple as is it woke or is it not woke in my eyes.
It's just another divisive term, just to like to make it to where nuance can't exist anymore. So people see like a couple things that trigger their mind to think that it's automatically going to be woke, but really I think the difference is whether or not the piece has the nuance and whether or not there's subtlety there. To me, would be the difference between, you know, if something is pushing an agenda or just really good. To go back to Sinners is just an absolutely incredible film that seems to be like effortlessly making its point and telling its story without, you know, without being cheesy about it. That's kind of what I think about. It's like cheesy. If it's woke, then you're like, oh my God, this is so cheesy. But then there are people that just seem to get it right. Absolutely pitch perfect. You know, like Sinners.
Well, and to kind of prove the point that I was stating about how some people, it's just black and white. The movie Prey, before Prey came out, there were already people, and when it came out, I saw a lot of comments stating this movie's woke because you know, Amber Midthunder, it's a woman going against a predator, and she can't be smart, right? So there's no way she'd beat the predator because she can't physically take him on. I literally had people pretty much saying shit like that in my comments just because it was Amber Midthunder. And I'm like, if you remember, Arnold Schwarzenegger in the first Predator was getting his ass. There was no way he could physically defeat the Predator. How did he beat him? He had to use his mind. That's the exact same thing that happened in Prey. And Prey was a great movie. And it's sad when people bypass movies because automatically they want, you know, oh, that's got to be woke, you know, because of this or this. So,
well, it's so silly too, because the people that are utilizing that term so much, you know, the Tyrone Magnuses that jumped on it, you know, and like made it their whole identity. It's like what they don't realize is they're putting themselves, like they're showing their asses every single time they do it in a way that it's like what they mean is progressive, right? That's what they're using woke to replace, is progressive. But like using the term woke is like, no, I don't like that woke shit. It's woke shit. I want to stay asleep, motherfucker. You know, like I don't want to wake up and, you know, actually grow or anything like that. I want to stay where I am, you know, and it's silly that they co-opted that particular term, but yeah, they just mean progressive. And then they attribute things that have been in the genre forever as being woke or progressive, you know, and it's like, no, that's shit's always been there. They're like, I don't like queer stuff in my horror. It's like, have you been watching horror since the 70s? You know,
exactly.
Because if you've watched any since the 70s, you've seen, you know, queer stuff in there. You know, it like was first in the horror genre almost. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
That's what I love about what we do, to be able to talk about horror. And, you know, you could talk about 10 different aspects of any horror movie. It doesn't get down to just that one issue. And yeah, I've actually seen like a lot of the bigger channels, because, you know, if you put a certain type of thumbnail and a certain type of verbiage in your title, there's a good chance you're going to get clicks, you know. And I see like even smaller channels now that are pretty much copying the exact same formula that the bigger ones are doing. And so it's like, it's becoming this freaking echo chamber or whatever. And I'm just out here on the other side of it thinking, man, I'm still glad that we're able to do, you know, us, the horror community, you know, kind of do our own thing. We don't need that shit. You know, we do this because we enjoy talking about movies, and more times than not, we talk about stuff we like. You know, yeah, we'll shit on a movie. Don't get me wrong. We will rip a movie to shreds if it's bad. I could throw Halloween Ends at Cecil and he'll go to town. So exactly. So yeah, but that and Halloween Ends, that's a fun movie to talk about because it's so divisive, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And the funny thing is, you know, in spite of some horror fans' propensity to complain about various aspects of horror, they're always going to be there to watch it. Like, you know, horror fans are at the very least loyal to the genre, even when they're not happy with what's happening during it, or within it rather. And so there's always a kind of special camaraderie between horror fans as well that's always notable, you know, especially at like conventions and shit. I've been to so many horror conventions, and like everyone is generally a cool person. You know, even like the real sweaty guys, they're not like crazy, you know what I mean? Like you let them say their highs to all the starlets that they keep pictures of it on their phone, and then you know you let them move on and they leave, and then everyone else has a ball, you know. So but all in all, you know, the genre itself fosters such, you know, love within itself. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'd say to the chat, if some of you have never been to a horror convention, go, because they are some of the nicest, friendliest people, and they all are very passionate about the movies they like and the movies they dislike. Like there's on the Jason Goes to Hell Scream Factory Blu-ray, the newer one that came out, there's a brand new interview with Adam Marcus, and he talks about how hating movies is just as important as loving movies, especially in horror, because horror fans, they'll be there day one to watch a movie, even if they think they're going to hate it, because it could be a franchise, it could be genre movies. Man, I didn't like the last one, I don't think I'm gonna like this one. Oh shit, tickets just went online, let me get you know. So, whereas other genres, you know, people they jump off the ship at a certain point. Horror, we never jump off the ship, we always are right there. And hating movies, to me and to Adam Marcus, is just as important as loving movies, because of just great fun horror discussion. Right.
Yeah.
So, continuing with this.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on to that just really briefly. Overly hating them, maybe not so much, but you know, a certain degree of it does help the filmmakers that stay within the genre make adjustments, I believe. So I think there is a place for it, but overly so, I think a lot of people are leaning more towards the overly hating, especially
that definitely
you know,
exists.
But yeah, overall, I completely agree.
Yeah, and then there's like gatekeeping.
God,
you don't want to go that route.
You're not a real horror fan unless ...
You're not a true horror fan.
Yeah,
that's it. I love that line. So, transitioning to Silent Night, Deadly Night. I'll ask you this, Davey. You like Halloween Ends, but setting aside Halloween Ends, Rohan Campbell, I think he's a good actor. I think he did a really fantastic job in Halloween Ends. And I think some people, even if they didn't like Halloween Ends, I don't think his acting would be the problem that they had with that movie. You know, I think he's a passionate actor. I think he handles emotion quite well. And when they announced that he was going to be Billy in Silent Night, Deadly Night, I thought, oh, that actually might work, because Billy is kind of a tortured type of character. Granted, in the original, I think maybe the body type's a little bit different, but still overall, I think both of them, you know, it's a tortured type of character. And I think Rohan Campbell could handle that quite well. And he seems like a cool guy. Like I've seen, like, you know, Instagram, he's on Instagram. He seems like just a really cool guy. You know, he seems like he loves what he's doing. You know, this doesn't feel like a burden to him. He's enjoying mixing it up. He's trying different things. So I'm happy for him that he's getting this role. But Davey, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good casting, because the thing about Corey is that he is, that kind of, you know, that vulnerable, sort of picked on kind of character, like somebody that's like clearly going through something, which is very similar to the Billy character in Silent Night, Deadly Night. So yeah, I thought he was going to be maybe get a little jacked for this movie, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case based on the picture we've got there. He just looks like a kid in his 20s. But I think, you know, he's got something. There's something like ruggedly handsome about Rohan Campbell, but also like really vulnerable about his acting. And he is a really cool guy. I got to meet him at H45, and he was
nice.
Super fun, and you know, cracking jokes and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is a great casting job. I think what I want to see from this remake, one of the things that I think the original is kind of like lacking is, other than Billy and like a couple of the nuns, we don't really have like a character that we really follow for any of the rest of the story. So I don't know if they're going to do something with Pamela's character, have her be a little bit more of like a final girl. Because it's strange. Silent Night, Deadly Night is strange because it's like he's like the protagonist and the antagonist. Like, you feel bad for him for the first third of the movie, and then he's your villain, and you don't have anyone else to you know, buoy yourself to for the film. So I'm hoping that they do you know, something with that, even if it's the younger brother is kind of in that role in this remake. But I do think Rohan Campbell is great casting, and it doesn't look like they're going to put him in a terrible wig like they did in The Monkey. So I like that as well.
I don't know why they did that. It's horrible.
You know, I think that Billy needs a degree of emotionless performance. So I think Rowan will be great.
Oh, come on.
That's a backdoor insult.
Kind of front door. There's more side.
Side door, screen door.
No, I think he could be fine, but it's true. You know, he did stoic for a good portion of ends, and Billy is stoic for pretty much the whole fucking time. So like his emotional range is this, you know, in the movie, which is not a dig on him. It's just the way the character is written. You know, he's a blank slate pretty much, except for when he thinks someone is being naughty. So and then it's just a little bit of anger injected into the ambivalence, and that's kind of about it. So it's not the most taxing of roles for an actor to step into. No. So yes, I do think that he can do it. But yeah, he did have that stoic look for a good amount of ends. So I think he'll be fine.
And that's the question, is like, how different is this version of Silent Night? Like, because if you remember, like, the whole franchise is just really whacked out. You know, the second movie, it pretty much rips off half of the first movie. And then the third movie is just one of the most depressing, boring freaking movies I've ever seen. And then I freaking love how batshit crazy 4 and 5 are. So this is like the franchise that can go anywhere. And so then they're finally going to do an actual because then there was an actual remake in 2012, but it wasn't really a remake. Even the characters' names, there was no, correct me if I'm wrong, there was no Billy in that movie, was there?
In which
the
one?
2012
in the remake? I can't remember. I just remember the cover, Santa with a silencer. The only thing
they had that was reminiscent of the original was they had like the antler kill. They had, you know, a couple of callbacks, but
it's just a straight up slasher.
It was, I mean, you could have taken the name away from, just called it a different Christmas slasher, and it would have been fine. But this one, I'm curious to see what they're going to do.
They did continue the original story in comic book form, just like in the last 2 years. They did a legacy sequel, Silent Night, Deadly Night, where it was as if Billy had survived and gone to an asylum, and then he gets freed all these years later. And then what's interesting is the same comic company did a My Bloody Valentine comic, legacy sequel comic called Valentine Bluffs Massacre. And then they just recently, about like 4 or 5 months ago, put out a Silent Night, Deadly Night versus Valentine Bluffs Massacre, where it was the miner versus Billy. So it was it's kind of interesting. So they weren't great comics, but they were comics and they were things. So I think the reason I bring that up is because if they're going to do it this time, right, they're trying to recreate or at least repopularize a slasher that was mishandled, essentially. Like a Killer Santa that is a repeat Killer Santa could be a franchise pretty easily. You know, they just need to not off the guy at the end of the movie in order to continue it. And I think they could very much do it. So it's just a matter of whether they decide to or not.
it's cool that Bloody Disgusting is sort of behind this. And like Cineverse did Werewolves, I think. Cecil, did they do another movie besides Werewolves, or was Werewolves?
They put out Terrifier 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Bloody Disgusting's production arm. They've put out quite a few things, but they haven't made anything yet. They're just the releasing company.
Yeah. So I got a good feeling then that this one's going to be pretty violent and pretty bloody, which will be nice. You know,
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. Based on that picture we've got, looks like it'll be that way. Do you think they're gonna bring back the punish catchphrase?
Yeah. I mean, you can't.
You got to do that, right?
The way
do you think
he
his movie?
Here's the thing about the original Silent Night, Deadly Night. It takes itself so seriously, and you're kind of laughing with it as you're watching it. But it's one of those, it doesn't really wink at you like, hey, this is a joke. Come along for the no, it actually plays it like it's a drama with cheesy music in the background. And that's why it's one of the most unique slashers, because the whole movie's from the point of view of the killer. And I've always wondered, like, I loved the original, but were they aware that they were kind of being funny at times when they didn't mean to be funny?
I don't think so, no, because Fuego and I did a first watch of this on the channel. It's like one of our only first-time watches that we have on the channel. Yeah, like 3 years ago, and we were both surprised at how good it was. But doing a little bit of research, it was very like media worthy because it was an aggressive slasher, and it got a lot of attention because of it. So I think they were very much being serious with it because it was taken very, very seriously. Some of the stuff is funny now, but you know, if you look at it through the lens of when it actually came out, it's a pretty hardcore slasher.
Oh yeah, and pretty racy too. Like with that the scene with Santa, like, you know, doing.
I mean, there's a lot of the kill scenes have nudity mixed into with them. It's a very sexualized violence, and
it's very 80s.
I think I think there's something about the movie that's just sort of clumsy, kind of like what you were saying, like the music and just sort of like the pacing and everything. It does seem a little clumsy, but yeah, it seems like they're really going for it.
So that was your first time watching Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 years ago?
Yeah, and it's one of those. I have a few gaps. A lot of people get mad at my gaps because Hitchcock is a gap. I've never seen the Psycho movies.
I've seen the first Psycho, but other than that, I don't think I've seen any other Hitchcock movies. Have you seen the first Psycho, Cecil?
No, I've never seen the first one. No, I've never seen any of them.
But you've seen Psycho 2, right?
No, never seen any.
Psycho 2 is one of the greatest horror sequels of all time.
I know, that's what I hear. That Psycho 2 is the reason I want. Like, I have the franchise, like the box set, but I've just not put them in. And
I saw Psycho 2 first, actually. When I remember back in the 80s when it came out, and I was curious about it, and I hadn't seen the original, and I went ahead and watched 2 and loved it. Oh my God, it's so good. And then I eventually watched the first one, like probably like a decade later, and it's great.
Yeah,
but you almost don't even have to watch the first one to really enjoy the second one, because I didn't. But I still love that franchise. Actually, Psycho 3 is phenomenal. Oh my God, don't get me started.
I want to get into it, but yeah. So Hitchcock is a gap. The Universal monsters have been a gap for me. Like I've only seen 4 of those movies now.
Yeah.
I started a series called Cecil versus the Universal Monsters because I don't like old horror movies like that. Like I have a hard time sitting through them. Luckily, I found out that they're like barely over an hour. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I appreciate them for their historical value, but for the longest time, I avoided black and white movies altogether. And for the most part, I'm not a big fan of any horror movie before 1975, or 74, I should say. But you
need to get into 1972. That's got some good stuff.
See, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't be able to list anything in particular. And Lee, I gotta say, I've been avoiding watching them all, but I love your series on obscure slashers, because you've put up reviews of ones that I've never even heard of, and I'm like, shit, I really got to look into some of these. So I appreciate you for doing those.
They're so fun, and I can't take credit because I just like Dave Vanderhoff. He'll send me like a random. He'll be like, dude, you got to check out this slasher. It was for Nightmare Beach, and Nightmare Beach feels like a giallo, even though it's not a giallo. But yeah, that's just how it happens. I'll have people just send me. Yeah, there he is. I'll just have people send me random slashers to check out, and I just happen to love freaking 80s slashers. And the deeper the cut, the better. Like those are the most fun I have reviewing any movie is a deep cut slasher. Because I just really get into it.
Yeah, I mean that's the fun thing for me, right? Because slashers are what I grew up on. I made a fucking Freddy movie, so
yeah, you did
fan Freddy movie. Too. But and thank you. But I have so many slashers that I apparently missed, right? Because I was a kid. I was born in '80, so like I was young during that era. So there was a lot I missed that just didn't have the traction that the big boys had by the time I was old enough to watch movies in like '90 and later. So like seeing how many, like I didn't watch The Burning until like 2015, and like I had never seen it before, and there's like a bunch of others as well, and it's like, damn, there was some real quality shit that it's like my scale is like, how many times would I have rewatched this shit as a kid? And some of them are like, oh my god, it would have been on fucking repeat if I had known this shit existed.
I'll give you an example.
No, I love it.
Like Happy Birthday to Me. You've probably seen that one, right?
No.
Okay.
I haven't either.
You both of you haven't seen Happy Birthday to Me? That is no. I would say Scream is highly inspired by Happy Birthday to Me as far as twists. Happy Birthday to me has like 2 or 3 like crazy twists at the end of the movie. But so I reviewed that movie, and I'd seen that movie like probably 20 years ago, and it's one of my favorite slashers. But Damian Maffei, he reached out to me and he was like, "Dude, you got to see Madhouse because Madhouse is pretty much the same movie. It's Happy Birthday to Me. They have the same type ending, but the tone of the movies are different. And Madhouse has like a Rottweiler. It's famous for like a Rottweiler kill. But yeah, he was right. You just start going down this rabbit hole, and like Italian horror is something that I didn't even get into until like 2015, 2016. And I've probably seen like 30 or 40 giallos. A lot of them are very similar, but boy, are they great. Oh, they're just because they just don't hold back. They're all about excess. You see it all in giallo movies. Yeah. They're bloody as hell. There's plenty of nudity. It's like every slasher fan that really, really loves slashers probably really loves giallos, or he hasn't seen giallos yet. Right. There's so many great giallos. Torso. Have either of you seen Torso?
Giallos are another big gap of mine. So
bar none, Torso, one of the best slashers I've ever seen. One of the most underrated slashers I've ever seen. It has everything. Oh,
I think I actually did a Patreon review of that maybe like 8 years ago.
Really?
I don't, or maybe 6 or 7. I remember putting together a thumbnail for it. So either I did it with Fuego or Fuego did it, but I think I remember. Yeah, no, I think I did see that one. I have loose memories of it, but it's one that I only saw once, so it's like it's not reinforced in my head,
Yeah, I picked up I got the Arrow Blu-ray of it, but yeah, man,
Arrow rocks.
Yeah, they do. But anything by like Bava, Mario Bava,
Umberto
of course.
Bava.
Of course. God, why am I drawing a freaking blank? Suspiria director, Jesus.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about Dario Argento?
Yes, thank you. The most famous freaking
like opera.
I'm a fan of Dario's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ozzy is great. Yeah.
But like you get into like Deep Red, you get what
Bay of Blood,
Demons 1 and Demons 2. Those are so freaking fun. Cecil, just check out my top 50 deep cut list that I did. I have they're all just deep cut horror movies, and I did 50.
I will do that
on there. That was such a fun video to do. But
I gotta be honestly, sometimes I never really know, because there are times where you love movies and then months later you don't.
No, you're right.
So I got in a lot it depends on what mood you were in when you recorded that top 50.
I remember I had you and Fuego give me the intro for Terrifier, the first Terrifier, because my mind changed. I always tell people I'm an emotional movie watcher. And if I'm in a different mood, like Halloween 2018 is a great example. I had people probably unsubscribe my channel because of Halloween 2018. But the thing that people don't understand, I'm such a Halloween fanatic that when I went into that first movie, I was just, I'm literally, and I'm not fucking around, I was literally like shaking in my movie. Like, is there a certain movie that you go to? Like maybe it was Superman for you, Cecil. I don't know, but there's like
It
maybe
might be.
1 or 2 movies that when I go to the theater to see them, I'm literally shaking because this was the return of O.G. Myers. This is freaking John Carpenter coming back to executive produce. Just all these things were lined up in a row. So I knew in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna be way too goo goo gaga over this movie because I can't even like function right now. When Myers is in the bathroom doing the bathroom kill and just being brutal as hell, I was like screaming in the theater. So after everything settled down and I'm not like, a kid in a candy store that's getting his Christmas present, then I started seeing the warts of the movie. So,
Sure.
But yeah, that's just me. I'm like that.
It's fun though. That's part of your charm. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's the fact that you're very, you're very upfront with that. You're very on the sleeve about it, so to speak. You wear your stuff on your sleeve, and that's great. There's nothing. You're far from the only person whose opinions on movies change. There's 2 specifically that I can point to that I did not like the first time I watched them, The Witch and It Follows. I did not like those movies the first time I watched them. Watching them years later, about 5 years later each, I really dig them now. Like I really think that they're clearly really, really good movies. And I don't know why I didn't like them the first time around specifically. But yeah, so I do think it's a fun aspect to your reviews. But that's the only reason I say what I say.
Sometimes with movies, it's like you don't know until you've watched it maybe 3 times. Like, I think it can be the same way with music for me. There's like albums that I've listened to where I'm a big, like 80s and 90s like punk rock guy. I remember when The Gray Race came out by Bad Religion. I listened to it and I was just like, that was it. And then I listened to it, like I bought it. So I listened to it more and more. And by like the 3rd day of listening to it, I was like, yes, this friggin' album rules. And sometimes you get the same kind of feeling with the movie. Sometimes it goes the opposite way. Like I can't stand Donnie Darko, but the first time I saw it, I was like, wow. But the 3rd time I saw it, I was like, what the hell, man? What the hell?
One of the worst
director's kind of wow about it. I love that director's cut. I'm sorry. I liked them holding my hand better than having to figure it out.
Because it was like 20 minutes longer. And it was one of those situations where the length of the theatrical cut of Donnie Darko was perfection. I love Donnie Darko. Perfection. But when I watched the director's cut, I was like, oh man, they're just like, I feel like they're wasting my time now. But that happens with director's cuts. Like Kingdom of Heaven is the opposite. Kingdom of Heaven, the theatrical cut is just kind of okay, it's a good throwaway period piece. The director's cut is one of the greatest freaking period pieces I've ever seen in my life. So that's just Kingdom of Heaven. You guys haven't seen Kingdom of Heaven, Ridley Scott?
I haven't.
Oh, dude.
No.
Well, watch the director's cut if you watch it. It's like in like movie circles and movie forums, and people always bring up a great, Kingdom of Heaven being like the standard for the director's cut. How making a director's cut from a 3 out of 5 movie to a 5 out of 5 movie. That's what that's how important editing is, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
You guys know.
Cecil,
did you have a longer cut in mind for your Freddy movie when you did it, or was it always going to be you knew exactly the cuts that you needed to make?
The only thing that we ended up cutting were 2 to 3 Freddy jokes. There was specifically 2 during the psych attack at the end that play in the script, but when we got on set, one of them we nixed because we changed a line of dialogue, or I had to come up with a new line of dialogue that I think was better than what was in the script because we opted not to do the joke. But for the most part, it was what I wanted to shoot. Now, that's not to say that I don't write material that needs to get cut before shooting, because that definitely happens. Like, I tend to overwrite. The first script for DNN2 is 180 pages. So it's a 3-hour movie as is right now. We're going to be actually having a meeting about what direction we want to take soon. It's not going to be that version. That to me is the ideal version. That I basically wrote a version if I got all the toys that I wanted. It's the version I would sell to the studios to be the last Robert and Heather Freddy movie. but within the Dylan's New Nightmare framework, which is what Robert has said would be, you know, a way that he would want the story to have continued anyway. But yeah, so I write everything. I write long, and then we decide what really is important, and then we shoot that. So I don't tend to have a lot of that, but I am not against having that stuff. You know, if I wasn't as budget conscious,
yeah, that's what I was
then I would
say,
I would have
budget.
an easier time shooting that extra stuff. Yeah.
Do you? I'm going to get Chappie's question here in a second, but I got because you've made a really good fan film, and we've talked about this, I think, on the last episode of Hit the Bricks. But I'm always fascinated by fan films and how they've evolved over the past few years to the point where you actually have talent that was actually in the real movies in the fan films now. And I mentioned this before, but I don't know if I'll tell you, Cecil. Like, I talked to Danielle Harris when I was at one of the conventions, and I asked her, "Would you ever do a fan film?" And her answer, and it might have been a political type answer, but she was just like, "Actually, I don't think it was I think she was being honest." She said, "I don't want to piss off the Akkads, Malik Akkad. That's the reason why I wouldn't do it." But my opinion on that is, I think the window is starting to close. You know, just because she's getting older, the Jamie Lloyd storyline, I think it's got a shelf life, and maybe we're past that shelf life. But I think eventually, you know, like whatever comes out next for Halloween, be it the TV series or there's a new movie coming out, and it's not involving Jamie Lloyd, I think she might change her mind, and I think somebody could talk her into actually doing a sequel to Halloween 4 or 5 fan film. Do you think that that's something that's viable?
I do. The Jamie Lloyd story, yes, especially, right? Because that was a big thing, right? Like she was set up to be the new Michael Myers, and I quite like 4 and 5. I probably would have a lot more gripes now than I did growing up, but I liked all the Michael Myers movies growing up. Like as much as I like to give the walking wall shit now, I really enjoyed those movies growing up because you know, it was a slasher, and I love slasher movies, and you know, but yeah, it's the shit. I forgot the where I was headed on that.
The Jamie Lloyd ever doing a fan film?
Sorry, refresh me on Jamie Lloyd. Yes. So no, I do think if she, now I understand her saying, but I also understand that with relation to the Akkads, they tend to be a lot tougher on fan films, from what I understand. Like I've heard some cease and desist that have gone out to some longer fan films and stuff. So I think Malik is a lot more. Is it Malik and his son, or is it vice versa, Malik and his dad? Either way.
Well, his father
they're a lot more
died.
protective about
Mustafa Akkad. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's Malik. Okay. So they're a lot, but I think it could be that they're a lot more protective of it because it's an active fucking franchise. It's not the same with Jason and Freddy right now. So that could be why Vince and I have gotten away with what we've gotten away with. And Dave too, McCray, you know, with the Billy stuff, because Black Christmas is not, well, I mean, technically it was active in 2019, but who counts that piece of shit?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I do think that I agree with the thinking that if the next thing doesn't involve her, which I would be very surprised if it did, I think that it would be smart for her to revisit because it would please a lot of the fans. But to that end, it would have to be a short, right? They couldn't do a full length because they shut down all full length Halloween movies, fan films. But yeah, I think it would be not a mistake, but I think it would be a bummer if she never revisited when such a large segment of the Halloween fandom would like to see her revisit.
Oh yeah.
And now, quite frankly, now fans are a little bit spoiled with thinking that people could come back. Like it's so funny the amount of comments that I still get to this day on DNN, saying you should really get Heather back for the next one. Like you should have really got her for this one
let
too.
me just get her on the old horn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we really should have. I should have thought about that when I made the sequel to New Nightmare. Why didn't I think about trying to bring Heather in? You know,
what an oversight.
Yeah. So it's funny that fans are starting to get a little spoiled on that end, but it's okay. You know, like that just means that they're getting quality material that the studios aren't delivering. And so to that end, I think it would be great if she did decide to revisit. I mean, look, let's be honest. Is she really booming right now? Like it's you know, like what she had a part in Stream, I think is the last thing that I saw her in. Is wasn't she in that? And small part. Yeah, small part that involves some atrocious editing, like the positioning of the bodies in the room changed entirely, like by the time we saw it later. But nonetheless, yeah. So it's like I don't know. There's the thing is these fan films can raise these people's popularity where it's kind of waning, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it would be a good thing. I wouldn't be surprised either way. You know, a lot of these actors feel like they're too good for fan films, even if it's a good story, you know. So it's kind of depends on what their real thinking is. Yeah, exactly.
No. Because all the other, like even Black Christmas, you're freaking Freddy, Jason, they have had actors from the actual movies be in fan films. So, but I think you're onto something. I think it's a legal type issue. Like if they dared do a fan film, Malek Akkad would probably come hunting. So,
yeah,
you know,
he'd come hunting with a drink in his hand.
Yeah, he would. You're hunting it, aren't you?
He's the happiest drunk I've ever seen. I envy him.
Really?
Yeah, he's amazing. Super friendly guy.
Davey, are you into like Grindhouse movies?
You know, I've never really taken the dive. I've watched a lot of like the old, I don't know if they're considered Grindhouse, but like the 70s, you know, like Roger Corman kind of like titty movies that are sort of, they have a little bit of that vibe, but they're like, you know, big mamas, whatever, just like, you know, Caged Heat 12, like whatever, you know, like I don't even know if those are, I don't think there is, you know, really grindhousey. I've never really taken that dive. I wonder if that's just kind of like a generational thing, because I didn't really grow up like with access to them, and they were all getting released like a decade and a half or so before I was born. But yeah, I have nothing against them. I just haven't taken that dive.
Well, the one that you have seen is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And
is that considered Grindhouse?
Yeah, pretty much, because it came out. It was like the drive-in movie era, and you know, that's how it started booming, was through the drive-in theaters. And if you look at that movie, it's 16 millimeter. It looks like a Grindhouse.
It's got that Grindhouse look for sure.
It had a dangerous.
I mean, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I think that first TCM is I don't know. It's like the stars just aligned for that one, because it's way better than you would think if you just looked at everything on paper.
I actually have something to say, just so you guys know. Anyone that's interested in TCM, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, especially the original, be on the lookout for 2 different documentaries that are coming out in the near future. We just saw both of them at the Phoenix Film Festival. We saw the Dinner with Leatherface, which is all about Gunnar Hansen, and it's his career, you know, and like how he came in and out of the franchise, and a lot of interviews with him and stuff before he passed. That was really good. But the better one is something called Chain Reactions, and it's has like 5 different people that were all influenced by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they're like big people. So like Patton Oswalt is one. Yep. There's like you know, a couple of other celebrities, some directors and things like that. So Chain Reactions and Dinner with Leatherface. If you had to choose one, I would go with Chain Reactions, but they're both quality films if you like Texas Chainsaw.
My dog's howling. The 2 that I know of are probably I Spit on Your Grave and Pieces. I think those 2 have like a Grindhouse type feel to them.
Is Last House on the Left? Does that kind of count?
Definitely. That's definitely
I've seen that one. Yeah.
People Under the Stairs is almost that vibe too.
Yeah. Big Rod is saying Terrifier 1 is Grindhouse. And like if you wanted to say like modern Grindhouse, Terrifier 1's definitely, you know, if you want to define Grindhouse is like going above and beyond in terms of like excess and graphic violence, Yeah, that's one
But
definition of Grindhouse, but I think it
you're
also
substituting
the look of the
Grindhouse
film-
for exploitation, though, aren't you?
Yeah, that's
in
true.
that case. Grindhouse has the filmic look as well, like the scratchy look, as well as that exploitative thing. I think if it's only got one, it's just more exploitation as opposed to Grindhouse. But that's just my opinion. Not to take
I actually think you're right. I never thought of Terrifier as Grindhouse. When I think of Grindhouse, though, I'm thinking of like early 70s. You know, that's or like mid 70s. Like I Spit on Your Grave is definitely a Grindhouse type movie. It's just, but it's definitely exploitation too. So. Let's check out the next news story. Let's see what we got left here. 28.
What happened? Did we lose Lee again?
No. Got caught off guard.
Let me close it. Hold on.
How they use generative AI in their content creation.
I got like 6
Our partnerships
windows open,
within
and it could be from
institutions allow institutions to turn these features on and off as they see fit.
Everybody wants professional communication, and Grammarly helps us achieve that.
Grammarly.
Grammarly
I see where it is. It was on this. Okay. Yeah. All right. So 28 years later, I guess to start this off, are you guys into the 28 series? For me, it was 28 weeks later. Like I love Days, you know, like everybody remembers that. We were just talking about Grindhouse. I mean, it's not Grindhouse, but it definitely has that cheap, low budget camera type feel.
It's pretty close. Yeah,
it is pretty close. You're right. I think it's pretty close. There was one scene that really shook me. Jesus, dog. I might have to take him in there. You know what? You guys talk about 28, the series. What you guys think of them? I'll start with you, Davey, and I'm gonna go take my dog over into the other room real quick with my wife.
Yeah, I'm you know, I enjoyed the first movie when I first saw it, but it's one of those movies that the more I watched it, I just was like, man, this is kind of like boring me. And then like by the time they're hanging out with the military people, I just want to watch Day of the Dead instead of watch the rest of 28 Days Later. I think like the whole like they are zombies, but technically not, I just thought was sort of a cop out. Like just be proud of your zombie film and like, and you can make up your own lore. There's nothing that says you have to do like a Romero style zombie movie. So I thought that was odd that they wanted to like draw that distinction. And I fell so out of love with that first movie. I didn't even watch the sequel. I've never seen it. And I've heard it's better. Specifically, I've heard like the opening scene is one of the better scenes. That's really all I hear people talk about though with 28 Weeks Later. So I skipped it. I did watch the trailer for this one earlier this or late last week. And I think it looks pretty decent. I don't know. We'll see if I go check it out in the theater. I don't know. What do you think, Cecil?
Yeah, so I quite liked the first one. And if I'm not mistaken, like I could very much be, but at least in my horror experience, 28 Days Later was the first time I experienced running zombies. And yes, it's a rage virus, whatever. But but they were really fast zombies, and that freaked me out. I was like, holy shit, with the red eyes and the blood and just the feralness, like that was scary to me. Zombies were never really scary to me because it's like, oh, zombie, let me take a step to my left. You know, like so yeah, I quite like the first one. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't remember shit about the second one. Like I don't remember a thing about 28 Weeks Later.
Weeks is what got me into the franchise, like really got me into the franchise. There's the scene because the father gets separated, but he's also got this crazy guilt because he's, you know, his wife's like left behind to die and he can't do anything to save them. So later in the movie, they find his wife who he thinks is dead, and she has the virus, but she's not fully like raged out yet. And so he sees her and he's like overcome with grief. It's so emotional. He's like crying and everything. And then he kisses her. And then as soon as he kisses her, he starts turning into one of the rage. And so he like literally like just like destroys his wife after kissing her. And it's one of the most violent, emotional scenes. And it's quite terrifying. Like I saw that in the theater. And, it takes us as horror fans, it's hard to come across a scene that really affects you, it's in terms of like scares, but also in terms of like emotion. And boy, that scene really got me. And I think it's a really great movie. But yeah, I don't hear people talk about weeks as much as they do days, and I actually prefer weeks over days. You know, it is a you know, it's shot like 35 millimeters, so it doesn't have that aesthetic of the first movie. But I think both movies are quite different from each other, and I think that kind of works. You know, the second one doesn't feel like just a rehash of the first one. It's like a completely different type of thing. So that's what's got me really curious about 28 years later. Backing up a little bit, I actually, back in 2015, when I started YouTube, they announced 28 months later was happening. And I was over the moon. I was like, holy shit, months is happening. I did an update, and I had like freaking maybe 200 subscribers at the time. And that update blew up for some reason. You know, I guess not everybody was talking about 28 months later. And so we would get an update like once every couple of years. And I would, you know, I was like the only guy on YouTube really doing updates on 28. And they just bypassed months eventually because it was just taking so long that they just decided to call this one years. But yeah, man, I'm really excited for this one. Danny Boyle back directing, because he didn't direct the second one. Did Alex Garland direct the second? I can't remember, but
I can't remember.
The third one, it looks good. I checked out the trailer. Have you guys watched the new trailer yet?
I did.
Yeah, we did a reaction to it.
Yeah, it looks really good. Danny Boyle, you know, I think he's one of these, you know, the really respected directors. You know, he's earned his place. He's been in the business for a long time, but yet he still has a very like indie type feel to his direction. And I think that's one reason why I have faith that this movie is going to deliver. And I think it's going to have some shock. I mean, hell, even in the trailer, they had some shocking like moments that they were flashing. So yeah. I'm sure you guys already covered all your thoughts while I was gone.
Oh no, I didn't touch on the new one very much. Go ahead. I'm so zombied out at this point that when I watched the trailer, at first I was like, oh, it's just more zombies that run now. And it's like, you know, like, but by the end of the trailer, I was like, okay, I'm actually looking forward to this. It's just been such a saturated market, after all these years. But the first one, it came out when it was not saturated. So that's one of the things I said. I was like, when the first one came out, I was still like, oh, wow, great. And what I mentioned to Davey while you were gone, Lee, I don't know if you remember differently, but this was the first movie I remember ever seeing where the zombies ran. And so that's
a big thing
scary,
about
you know,
the rage virus.
Yeah. So
and there's some people that they'll get pissed off at you if you call them zombies. You know, they're the infected because they're technically alive. But I still put them all in the same ballpark. You know, I don't.
They're zombies.
They're pretty much they're doing what zombies do. You know, even some zombies run in certain movies. So yeah, but the rage virus, I think they're creepier because they got the red eyes and they're just like rabid dogs. That's what the first one really kind of highlighted that. Hey, there's Jason from Cinema Reviews. I'm sure.
Yeah, and Scratch Burno says what I've been thinking too. They do run in Return of the Living Dead from 1985. So that's the first time that zombies ever ran. But that's like a silly movie. I mean, those aren't, you know. They also slide tackle.
From the first choice. Jason, he had to bow out. So actually, I reached out to Cecil first, Jason. How about that?
I wasn't going to say it.
I know. I was trying, but I was like, yes, fuck it.
But yeah, I think with 28 days or 28 years later, what really stuck out to me is I was like, oh, this does look like this has like some Romero kind of world building bits that I really like. That whole like fortified island town and having to like venture out. Like those are the things I love that idea with a zombie story. Like, let's stop looking at the origin zombie story. Like, let's see like what the hell's going on like years down the road. I think that's a kind of a fun way to, you know, to jump in and see how people are dealing with it. But Romero fell off at the end too.
There's one scene in the first movie where Cillian Murphy, he gets up with this girl, the first person that he meets, and she's got I think he's her boyfriend or a friend or something like that. And everybody seems really chummy and close, especially her and the guy that she's been with for a while. And then the guy gets like infected. He gets bitten and immediately, without even thinking, and this could be somebody that she's known for years, she grabs a freaking machete and just starts hacking him up, like just destroying him. and it was just such a shocking scene. Like that'd be like me and one of you guys just like hanging out and walking down a corridor, and one of us gets infected, and you only have a split second. And so I have to like
take him out.
Destroy Davey, like chop his head off, his arms, everything. He's gone. He's a goner.
There have been a couple of zombie movies and stuff that have done that, where like there'll be a group of people and one of them gets bit, and like before they even have a chance to turn around and show them, and someone else just plugs them in the head. And like, damn! Oh shit! All right, we're serious right now. But
yeah, that's the great thing about zombie movies. You know, they're eating the intestines, and George Romero, I think he shocked the world in Night of the Living Dead, the movie from the late 60s. And they're freaking chewing intestines. And can you imagine how shocking that must have been back then in the late 60s?
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Insane.
You know, I think my issue with zombie movies has become that it's I know it's always kind of been this way in a lot of stuff, but it's so much now less about the zombies and more about the conflict. It's human on human conflict set against a world of zombies. Like how many times has that been pitched in a fucking courtroom? Like it's zombies, but it's actually about the humans in the middle of all of it and their conflict, and it's like only heightened by the zombie. It's like fuck you. Like,
but the reason
action. I'm not watching it. It's the same reason I don't like bunker movies. It's like it's one location and it's just these people going at it for an hour and a half, and I'm like, fuck, I'm bored.
But the reason why that became the thing is because Romero was so good at doing that in the first 3 movies. But he did
it dropped off. Like Land of the Dead is ass, and all the ones
I think Land of the Dead's awesome. I think Land of the Dead's awesome. But
it's a disagreement we have,
yes. But I do think that it's one of those things though where you still do have to feature the damn zombies. I agree with you on that. Like they can't be, and again, it's about like how you handle the subtlety with the storytelling. Like it shouldn't be so obvious that it's like the human on human thing. That should be what you think about like days later after you watch the movie. 28 days later.
You know, I watched I have Land of the Dead on Blu-ray. I think I watched like 20 minutes of it and I turned it off.
It gets better and better every time. Better and better every time I watch it. I shit you not. It is.
Just go another 5 minutes every time. There's some movies that I literally I can only watch like 10 minutes at a time. I'm just like, that's what I've been doing to get through Rebel Moon. It's like 10 minutes at a time.
Rebel Moon. I'm a Zack Snyder fan, and I can tell you right now, Rebel Moon is pure unadulterated shit.
You know what? I take it back. I don't think I am a fan anymore. Like I was a fan for the first 2 movies, but in retrospect, I don't think I'm a fan anymore. It kind of sucks.
Yeah, he did a good Dawn of the Dead remake.
That was great, and so was 300. But
Davey, you wouldn't want to be me in that Superman stream.
Positive times, but there's so much that he did wrong. He completely got the characterization wrong. But outside of that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say in that Superman stream with Cecil and those guys, I was the only guy that was the Snyder fan. It's all, and they're all like shitting all over the Snyder movies, and I'm just like, I kind of like it.
That stream,
I like those too. Yeah.
That stream actually had one. It had a few people react the way we knew some Snyder fans would react. But one of them was so angry. He's like, I back Dylan's Nightmare. I think your movie's a piece of shit now. Don't send me the Blu-ray.
That's when you really get
fine, dude. Like,
why you got to take it personally? Did he work on Man of Steel? Like,
that's
so fandom, funny. Though. You know, that's
people act like they work.
It's the fandom that do that. You know, Star Wars, Marvel.
I like
they act
now it's ass.
You
that's
can't
ridiculous.
Get away from it. That's part of
terrible.
That's part of the fun.
I'll take
I
his
think.
Blu-ray copy, says Big Rod.
There you go.
You got it, Big Rod. Reach out to me.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what the next story is. We could do him. Let's do him. Hold on. Share this tab. Davey, I finally figured out how to properly use StreamYard. Cecil, do you use StreamYard?
I don't, but mostly because I don't want to pay $40 a month.
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm only paying $25.
You son of a bitch.
Me too.
I know.
Me too.
That's what I got for Premiere, because I got it hooked up through my mom's school, so I only pay like $25 for the Premiere suite. But
Premiere Pro. You use Premiere Pro?
I use the whole Adobe suite. I pay $25.
Yeah, me too.
All of them, but I like Premiere Pro the best.
Oh, me too. I used to use Adobe Premiere Elements for a few years when I started YouTube.
Interesting.
And man, when I switched over to Premiere Pro, it was like a whole different world. And I was like, oh my God, I love this.
It's great.
It's so much easier to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jordan Peele's producing, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
just producing.
Just producing. Okay, let me read some of this. Him teaser trailer, a gruesome gridiron nightmare from producer Jordan Peele. And I haven't seen this trailer, so we're gonna watch it. Hold on. What would you sacrifice to become the greatest of all time? Universal has released the official teaser trailer for Him, the new horror movie from Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions. Guys, what was the other one that he produced but didn't direct recently?
Candyman.
Candyman, yeah.
Yeah, Candyman. That's it. That wasn't controversial. Yeah.
Nia DaCosta is just the least controversial director there is right now.
I made 3 videos off of Candyman because it was so damn controversial. People were pissed at me. How dare you?
And then you said Tony Todd as Candyman is just as iconic as Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger.
Yeah,
for some
I do have some
reason.
hot takes.
I like that Lee's like, I just made my 3rd Candyman video and you guys are pissed. Here, let me give you my 78th Halloween video.
Exactly.
Yeah. Halloween revisited.
Yeah, revisited.
They got to quit clicking. Technically, I've only done a revisited twice for Halloween 6.
I'm just waiting for you to do your first review and call it revisited.
Yeah, the third stage is bargaining.
Yeah. Should I read it? Let's just watch the trailer. I don't care. Hold on.
It's some sort of football thing.
This is great. Yeah, the trailer for this is awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen this
Here
one.
Yeah.
Do you want this? I said, do you want this? If you want to transcend the game, you have to dig deep. Your mind and your body have to be in sync. Talent is how hard you're willing to work. No days off.
It ain't
No
how
sleep.
hard you hit.
We grind. I'm never good enough. I'm never good enough. That's how great people think.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
So you're gonna have to ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice?
Damn.
This ain't a fucking game, man. This is everything. Do you want this? What are you willing to sacrifice? You fucking say it! Say it! Say it! And show me.
Crazy.
I
Like
struggle to think of another time that we've seen sports and horror mixed up, but
and it's got this cult kind of vibe, this weird cult and the substance kind of vibe going on.
I was thinking of the substance the whole time. You know, what would you do to get this level, to get this grade, get this level of fame? That's pretty much what the substance is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some of the violence even looks like substance type violence. So, yeah.
But it's kind of cool. Like, I've never seen that pairing, sports and horror.
Yeah.
Why not? Awesome.
Yeah, why not? Horror, man, it constantly breaks boundaries. It did it with substance. And when it does that, it gets recognized, by the Academy and by the awards, awards season. Mm-hmm. Like, that's, as much as I loved Substance, I was surprised how much award attention it got. And to even be nominated for Best Picture. Which was really
pleasantly surprised, I would say, because
definitely that was my favorite movie of last year. Phenomenal. So,
and the sound design in that trailer was really interesting too. Like just giving that unsettling kind of feeling. I'm curious about that one. That's that's pretty cool looking. Yeah, that's
my type of movie. I love when they just get pretty wild and crazy with the horror, step outside the box.
Yeah,
and it definitely has you can tell there's a budget behind it. beautifully shot. That's candy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, personally, I think it feels very Jordan Peele too, even though he's just producing it, which is awesome. His fingerprint is becoming that apparent. Not to take anything away from the director. So,
who's directing this one?
I don't remember his name offhand, but
Justin Tipping.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
He's also one of the writers.
Producer's role and giving young directors, kind of like Ryan Coogler did for like Creed 2. He let Stephen Cable Jr. do it. Another young black director. And Creed 2 is really good. I thought it was just as good as the first Creed. It's like it's like a good, like if you watched Rocky 4 and Creed 2, it's like a nice little double feature because they involve the same characters. So
that was the Drumdums, right?
Yeah. You guys are, but
like Marlon Wayans there in that trailer too. I've always felt he was like, in Requiem for a Dream, I really like his. I don't think he's very funny, Marlon, but I think he's a really good dramatic actor. He doesn't really make me laugh like his brothers do. Not him. But yeah, he's very believable as the coach there.
He actually had a really good dramatic scene in The Sixth Man, believe it or not, as dumb as that movie was. Where it was
I've never seen that one.
Oh man,
I know it. I remember it. I just never saw it. Yeah,
yeah. Towards the end, there's actually a dramatic scene, and he does a really fucking good job in it.
Yeah. It's so crazy. When I first saw Requiem for a Dream, I was like, I can't believe that Marlon Wayans is just like killing it.
Yeah, he's
killing it.
Just
don't try to be
I love
funny.
it though when a comedic actor crosses over, like Jim Carrey did. Like Truman Show was sort of more of a drama, but it did have some comedy in it. But I don't know. I like.
Well, I mean, Eternal Sunshine, The Majestic. He definitely did a lot of drama.
Yeah, well, Robin Williams did the same thing.
Yeah, comedians are comedians mostly because they're so fucked up inside, and they wouldn't mind me saying that. Most comedians have such volatile upbringings and so many reasons that they get up and do it that it's not surprising to me that comedians can stretch to drama very easily because it's all right below the surface of their comedy anyway.
It's got to be way easier because it's so much tougher to be like the timing to be funny and what you have to do to sell a joke and all that. Like it's got to be a way easier transition to go dramatic from comedic for sure. Yeah,
that's why I say comedy's hard, right? Compared to everything else.
Yeah, bad comedy. There's nothing worse than a bad comedy. It's excruciating, Bad horror, that's fun. Bad drama, that's hilarious. Bad comedy, oh my God, gouge my eyes out.
Oh yeah, Cable Guy. I love Cable Guy.
That's a really fun one.
He goes for like more of a darker approach, but it's still kind of a comedy for sure. It's like a dark comedy. But yeah,
it's just skin, Steven.
Sweet spot.
See ya. Bye.
Yeah.
I think that's all we got for news tonight. Man, this was fun, guys. Cecil, thank you for stepping in for Nick.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Always love chatting with you guys. So yeah, anytime you need a step in, just let me know.
Absolutely, man. Cecil, what do you got on board for the future?
Yeah, so we cover all the new horror that comes out, and we put up our trailer reaction yesterday. Today, I put up a little video talking about a short that I think if you guys have Screenbox, I highly recommend. It was made by Tom Newell, who edited Dylan's New Nightmare. He also is one of the editors on the Chucky series. He's edited on the Godzilla movies. Like, he's a very talented editor, and so he wrote and directed a short called Full Moon Glory Hole. And it's on Screenbox as a part of their season 13 of Bloody Bites. So it's like 8 shorts that they feature as a part of their Bloody Bites series on Screenbox, and that's one of them. So we just put up our little discussion. It's like a 4-minute little discussion as to why you should watch the movie. So that's up there. But yeah, currently, as I was telling these guys, actually, I don't know if we were live or not yet, but currently writing a few things. I'm tidying up. I'm doing the last rewrite for my own personal slasher that we're going to be getting going here soon. I'm finishing up a script for a big franchise that we're going to be pitching to the original creators here in the near future. And then I'm writing stories for the Tremors comic book. So I'm doing a lot of that stuff, more so than focusing on the channel like I should. But, you know, reviews, new trailer reactions, all that is on the channel. And we're going to be doing the Dylan's New Nightmare behind the scenes special within a couple of months as well, because that's finally ready. Once I get the Blu-rays out to the backers, then we're gonna show that on the channel. It's an awesome hour-long BTS special. So yeah, lots of fun stuff coming.
And by the way, Cecil, not trying to like butter you up or anything, but like every new release, when we get like, you know, and like Sinners, I go straight to you and Jason. I check out both you guys' reviews. That's like,
I appreciate that, man. I see you commenting, and so I'm like, damn,
yeah,
you know. So I'm trying to make sure I do the same, because I you know, your opinions are always entertaining at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah. They're even entertaining to me.
Well, that's why they're fun to watch, right? You know, if we don't amuse ourselves,
you have a different style than Jason, whose style is different than yours. So it's like I'm getting to, and which is different than my style. So I like having like, you know, different styles to see if you guys agree or disagree, because with Jason, I can usually tell if he likes something. But with you, I'm like, I don't know if he's going to like this or not. So it's always like a nice surprise.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep. Real quick from Chappie, he says, what do we think went wrong with Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon? If you didn't have slow motion in the movie, it would have been 15 minutes long. I think that would be the first. Like he went way too hard in the paint with the slow motion on Rebel Moon. And also, I think it was just trying to emulate a bunch of ideas that have already been done way better. You're trying to copy lightsabers in Star Wars, and it like, why? I don't know, man. I just think there's like one scene where you got everybody telling their past around a dinner table, and I just think that was the wrong approach for trying to just quickly cover everybody's bases, you know, so we can move forward. And it was just a really boring scene, and it was a boring movie. So yeah, they're hard to get through. I've always said this. I could be as artsy as I want about my opinions on a movie, but the worst thing you can do ever is to bore me. If you bore me in a movie, I'm done. I have no respect for you. Okay. You got to entertain me. That's at a base level, as simple as it is, you got to entertain me in some way or another. And so that's it. I don't know. What you guys think? Did you guys see Rebel Moon?
No.
Yeah.
No. I didn't hear anything to make it seem like it was worth my time. It makes me think of one of my favorite jokes on Mystery Science Theater, where they're watching this movie called The Lost Continent that's famous for rock climbing, Joel. And Crow says, will somebody please tell the director about compressing time through editing? You know, because it seems like Zack Snyder's just like, now that he knows that fans want the Snyder cut, like his pitch to Netflix was like, all right, I'm going to do 2 4-hour movies. And they're like, yes, just go ahead and do 2 4-hour movies, Zach, whatever, you know?
Yeah. And
because they announced that they were doing the director's cut, that's why I didn't watch I skipped the original cuts. I was just like, if they're putting out director's cuts, I'm just going to wait and watch that shit. Like, if these are as bad as people saying, well, I'm going to suffer through it twice, because I know I'll watch the director's cuts. I can't help it. Watch the full version of movies when they come out. So I did. Yeah. I watched the first one, and I didn't hate it like everyone else. But again, it was like a 3.5-hour movie that I watched in 10-minute increments, like on my lunch and stuff some days. So I clearly I wasn't that invested in the story, and I'm doing the same with the sequel. I'm only like 10 minutes into the sequel, just because it's been on my list, and just other things just keep jumping above it. I'm like, oh, I'd rather watch this. I'd rather watch this. I'd rather watch this. Yeah. So, you know,
I made it through 10 minutes of the director's cut, and it starts, to its credit, it starts out completely different. Like he wasn't wrong. He put a lot of new, and in the first 10 minutes anyway, different stuff in the director's cut. And I remember the first thing, it's slow motion, of course. And there's a naked woman is being pulled out of this large building structure. And there's just she's struggling. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. If you're starting off slow motion, I just can't. Okay.
Yeah. He loves, I tell you what, a slow motion shot of like a gun casing falling from. Oh man, that is like what Zack Snyder dreams about. He finds a way to put it in every one of his movies.
He does, man. But this one, they got slow motion wheat.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Liana says 1 hour photo. I had to bring that one up because I just reviewed 1 hour photo a few months ago, and yeah, that's a creepy movie with Robin Williams. Really,
that
good.
has one of the best scores. If you ever want to hear a really awesome fucking score, I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that score while writing. It's like, it's so good. It's low key. It's almost like a horror version of Road to Perdition. Like they're very similar sort of vibes and similar sort of tones. But yeah, it's mystery. It's not overwhelming. Like it's very good writing music. Very, very good.
I don't remember, but I remember it being very subtle. You know, so yeah. David,
I would do like I have a song in my head going right now, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'll have to check it out because I can't, I wouldn't be able to hum it along or hum it right now. But yeah, coming up on the channel, I've got Late Night with the Davies coming back this Wednesday. We're gonna have Mark from Tales from the Shelf on. He and I are gonna do we do these versus battles with movies. We've done Alien versus Aliens and the two Halloween 2s versus each other. And this time around, we're doing the Terminator versus Terminator 2 Judgment Day. We have like a set criteria that we, kind of go back and forth on our feelings and award each film, the winner of or one of the films, a winner of each of the categories. So that'll be really cool. And then on Thursday, I've got Movie Punks is coming back. It's been a long time since we've done a Movie Punks live, but my guy Foz Rotten, we're going to do sort of like a tribute to Val Kilmer, and we're going to cover Real Genius on Thursday. So that's what I've got planned for this week so far, and you never know what else might pop up.
You never know what else.
I might do a reaction to that I Know What You Did Last Summer trailer that's popping off tomorrow.
Is that tomorrow?
Yeah, it's dropping tomorrow.
I didn't even. I haven't done like trailer reactions in a while. I do them every now and then, but yeah, I might actually partake and do one for that. But
what you got, Cecil?
Go ahead. I just want to say one more thing, because I haven't made the announcement officially on the channel yet. I was waiting to try and do it in person with you, but we actually were lucky enough to have Davey technically join the cast of the horror show in official capacity. So
Davey was telling me before we went on, man. Congratulations, brother.
Yeah,
that's great.
So I appreciate that, and yeah, if anyone likes Davey, then subscribe to the horror show because we wrangled him over there for regular appearances now. But so yeah, just want to on that. Thanks.
On the very first stream I did with Davey, I told him, I was like, I see great things in his future. Like some people, you watch their content and you're just like, you're not there. You just there's something missing. And then but when I watch Davey, he's just very well spoken. He knows how to put a sentence together. And he got a good voice, right? He's just got a good he's got good presence. So I saw that immediately when and he's the one that came to me and about doing Hit the Bricks. And I take credit for the name, by the way. And then we brought Nick on. So yeah, I got to give full credit to Davey. He's a go-getter.
It's a great show. It's a great show. I haven't listened to all of it, but yeah, you guys have a great show going. Yeah,
and this episode, like all the other episodes, will be on Spotify probably tomorrow. I put them all on Spotify. So this is the first stream I've ever series that I've ever put on Spotify. So because I was too intimidated to even try to use Spotify before.
That's awesome,
but it's actually pretty easy. So, Cecil, do you have anything on Spotify?
Awesome. I think the only thing that's technically on Spotify is the Nancy and the Nightmares running from this Dream Warrior mashup that we
did. I literally have that in my.
I don't think the podcast.
I got that in my playlist. I call it Drumdums Jams.
Oh, really?
And I literally have that song in my Drumdums Jams. It's a good song. I like how
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we had a good time with that one.
Yeah,
it did a great. It's crazy how well. That's all credit goes to Fuego on that, because he figured out that it would cross over very well, and I was like, shit, all right, let's do it. So
he nailed it.
All credit to Fuego on that one.
What I got coming up is I've been working on my Friday Part 3 Revisited. That was sort of something that I wasn't planning on doing, But then I got into a real Friday Part 3 mood over like the last week. And sometimes I'm like, screw it. I think I'm just going to go ahead and record a video. And I ended up recording like 27 minutes worth of a video. So I finally finished editing that today right before the stream. So it's probably going to go out either tonight or probably tomorrow sometime. But yeah, that's what I got. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks from today for the next Hit the Bricks.